What's a fact you know that almost everyone is wrong about? Diamonds can in fact be shattered with a hammer. There is a difference between how strong something is and how hard it is. I am a gemologist and that is correct. You just need to change strong to tough. Diamonds are one of the hardest minerals, certainly the hardest gemstone, but their toughness is only middle of the road. The toughest gemstone is nephrite jade and that toughness is part of what makes it such a good carving material. Can you please elaborate on the difference between tough and hard? Mechanical engineer here. Hardness is the peak force it can withstand before failure, where toughness is the energy the material can take before breaking. If you're looking at a graph of stress versus strain, the highest point is the strength, hardness, fear very tightly correlated, and the area under the curve is the toughness. Toughness is kinda like the flexibility times the strength. Think of rubber. It's not hard, but it's really tough, low peak, high area, while a diamond is very hard, but not very tough, high peak, low area. Ah, I see. So as I'm assuming iron and steel are much tougher than diamond, would it be correct to say a sword made of diamond would be useless when clashing with a standard metal sword? This myth seems greatly perpetuated by many video games in which diamond weapons and armor are among the highest class. Belly dance was not a dance of seduction, and wasn't done by harem girls for the sultan. It's a community folk dance with a rich and long history done by both men and women during family celebrations and gatherings. The two-piece costume was invented by early Hollywood, and adopted by Egyptian dancers in nightclubs to cater to Western tourists. The term belly dance was invented at the 1893 World's Fair by Sol Bloom, because it sounded salacious, would attract scandalized Victorian patrons, and sell a boatload of tickets. So what does traditional belly dance attire look like? To hold your head backwards when you are having a nosebleed. Tilt it forwards, my friends, and hold just above the bridge of your nose. Yeah, or else you have blood going back from your nose into your throat. In all fairness, if I'm nowhere near tissues and don't want to make a mess, this is exactly what I do. I know that cracking your knuckles does nothing detrimental to the joint, but everyone tell me I am going to get arthritis. I've been conducting an experiment for 13 years, since 1998, where I don't crack my ring fingers, but I crack all the other knuckles. There's no noticeable difference in the size in any of my knuckles, ring versus any other. I was concerned that my rings wouldn't fit on my ring fingers anymore if I kept cracking my knuckles. But so far, there hasn't been any difference. Upvoted for being very committed to science. A car is safe during a lightning storm because the metal frame will conduct the electricity around you. The tires have nothing to do with it. Can you safely exit the car after it has been struck? Or does it need to be discharged or something? Electrical engineer here. You can safely exit the car. Electricity doesn't hang out on objects. Unless said object is a capacitor in a DC circuit. Also, just to clarify your point a little bit more, lightning wouldn't strike it if there wasn't a path to ground, so there is no way any charge could be left there. Academic question time. How does lightning hit planes then? Or do they even get it? Maybe they act as an arcing point between the source and the ground? If so, would it conduct the electricity in the same way the car does? American troops in World War II saw an average of about 10 days of combat a year. Troops in Vietnam saw about an average of 240. I was quite taken back when I heard that. When deciding on the fate of a gladiator, the emperor did not give thumbs up or down. The audience did this to show what they thought, and the emperor gave out the verdict with an open or closed fist. Are you not entertained? There is no special connection between virginity and the hymen. A large percentage of women have hymens that will never rip, and another large percentage have hymens that rip for reasons unrelated to sex. A minority of women have their hymens break due to loss of virginity. The blood is from the vaginal walls contracting and ripping under unprecedented stress, which is why some girls don't bleed when they lose it. Emphasis on the hymen as pertaining to virginity is totally horrifying and wrong to me, seeing as many women are either born without a hymen or have broken theirs in one way or another. Some women even buy artificial hymens to counter it. Seriously. You actually can rip off the tags from your pillows and mattress. The law only applies to sellers, stokers of said items, intended to demonstrate to the consumer exactly what is inside for health and safety reasons. As a child, those tags always frightened me. They sounded so serious and foreboding. I can't believe the number of people who actually think they're not allowed to rip those tags off. It specifically says on the tag that they're not to be removed except by the consumer. They're only there to provide washing and care instructions. If you rip them off, legally you have to immediately eat the entire mattress or face jail time. Hair does not grow back faster or thicker after it's been shaved. Seems like 90% of people believe this is true, though. That daddy long legs are the most poisonous spiders in the world. Just have fangs too small to do any damage. False. I love this one. I watched a show on this. Scientists concluded that it's actually just very hard to provoke a daddy long legs into biting you, and their venom is very mild. I hate when people go on about them being super deadly. Wasn't it on Mythbusters? Bill Nye did it first. Hipster scientist. Darth Vader is almost always quoted saying, "Luke, I am your father," when really it's "No, I am your father." Stupid fools. Also, the phrase "elementary, my dear Watson," never appears in any of Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories. The pipe and hat were also only introduced in illustrations. Reading reviews of the 2009 Downey Jr. movie where people unironically said it's so inaccurate it's offensive. He doesn't even smoke a pipe and wear a hat in the film. Watson isn't even an idiot was fairly rage-inducing. A history-related one. Catherine the Great did not die fricking a horse. Back then times were different and the sexism was crazy. One of the best ways to harm a female political rival was to slander her sexually. Hence all of the various assertions of her basically being a nympho who was into bestiality. Most women in history were sexually slandered, including Marie Antoinette, Elizabeth, even Joan of Arc. It is very unlikely Catherine the Great was remotely interested in bestiality. Frankenstein is the name of the scientist, not the monster. Frankenstein is the monster. The creature is the creature. We have an English major in the building. Congress didn't classify pizza as a vegetable. Don't go into the pool for at least an hour after you eat. You will get a cramp. This is just used to prevent kids from vomiting in the pool. So, it still sounds like a pretty useful rule. It is not impossible to lick your elbow. Anything is possible with a hacksaw. Except maybe time travel. Conversely, if you tilt your head back and pantomime shaking a salt shaker in your mouth, you will not taste salt. However, you will look like you giving an invisible peanuts a blowjob. I tried it. I accomplished both things. At a hanging, the past tense is hanged and not hung. I see this one all the time. Most hangings I've been to got it right then. Good. Human blood is never blue, it's always red. I encountered a nurse who would not even consider that blood was red inside your body. People think our blood is blue? I remember a lot of people in elementary school saying that everyone's blood was blue until it came into contact with oxygen. That's why your veins look blue through your skin and blood looks red when you bleed. I think if you polled adults, they would say much the same thing. It's a very widespread misconception. Many people adjust the side mirrors on their cars so that they can see the side of their car in the mirror. This makes the side mirrors redundant to the rear view and side mirror, in that all the mirrors look in the same area behind you, and creates a large blind spot on either side. If you adjust the side mirrors so that you can just see the side of your car, and then adjust them outward quite a way, then you can cover the blind spots. If done right. For example, as a car in the lane next to you passes you from behind, you can see that car first in your rearview mirror. Then, as it leaves your rearview mirror it becomes visible in your side mirror, and, as it leaves your side mirror it becomes visible out your side window, all without any gap and without moving your head. I would suspect that people do this, myself included, to keep that piece of the visual field oriented in space. If you can see your car in the mirror, you can see where other cars are in relation to your own. If you can't see your car, you're not entirely sure where they are in relation to you unless you're very used to it, I would guess. But anyway, I'm going to give this a shot. People with schizophrenia don't hear voices in their heads the way most people think. It's the benchmark of their diagnosis, but it's misleading. Schizophrenics are actually just conversing with themselves, having an inner dialogue the same way people without the disease do. The difference is, they are unable to identify the source of their own behavior. For example, if someone were to hide a schizophrenic's hand from them and show it on a TV screen real time, with someone else's hand next to it on another screen, if you ask them to move their hand around, which will move simultaneously on the screen, and ask them to identify which hand is theirs, they will not be able to do it. I'm sure this will get buried, but I thought this was really interesting. Schizophrenia is not the same as multiple personality disorder. Robert Louis Stevenson got it totally wrong in his book, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and since then people just kept copying his false knowledge. Stevenson didn't get it wrong, he didn't get it at all. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was published in 1886 and the term schizophrenia was coined by Eugen Bleuler in 1910. I am going to go with, karma is useless and holds no value.